Chairman, I would like to introduce Rita Mazalevskis, who is a shareholder.
Good morning, Chair and the Board. I'm a CBA customer, I'm a shareholder, and I'm also a bank warrior. I'd like to acknowledge all my fellow bank warriors that are here today that support, help, assist and fight for the rights of all bank victims across Australia. Now, please bear with me with my question because I think it's very, very important. I will be relating to you some things from the Promontory report and also your annual report. It is directed to the entire board. The annual report, under our commitment to corporate governance, states that the board is responsible for setting the strategic objectives and risk appetite for the bank and for leading the culture, values, behaviours of our people. The board appoints the bank's CEO. It also oversees the management, performance and governance frameworks of the banks. In the Promontory report, the fourth report, which was dated July 2019, there is a heading that says Assessing Board Effectiveness and Evaluation of the Board's Performance. The internal valuation process was expanded this year to include a series of questions designed to assess the board, for example, continues to have heightened visibility of conduct, culture and reputation within the bank. The board agreed to the following 4 areas of focus for the 2020 financial year. The working relationship between the board and management, and culture including customer outcomes, conduct, compliance and reputation. Also in the Promontory report, under board governance, it states that the board and its committees had not demonstrated sufficient rigour and urgency in holding management to account. It states there is gaps in communication between committees, overconfidence in the effectiveness of the board and its committees, and immature oversight of risk culture were also observed. CBA made improvements to board practices. It recommended that CBA make improved practices across the board. It emphasised the need for the board to promote a clear tone at the top. CBA's response through the Remedial Action Plan is to make changes that will strengthen board practices. It also envisages improving coordination between board committees, clarifying the delineation of roles and responsibilities between the committees relating to oversight and non-financial risk issues, improving BAC protocols, and improving the quality and consistency of non-financial risk. It does state that the board now has greater insight of non-financial risk, and a total of 9 of the 20 board governance theme milestones had been addressed and complete and effective. And it says that the board continues to have a positive influence on the behaviours within the group and is engaged and visible with senior management, and that senior leadership is clear about the behaviours and actions the board expects of them. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but when you get a job, there's a job description. When you're in a board, there's a board charter. Each committee has a board charter. All the directors split their roles over the board subcommittees. They sit on the overall board. I don't understand how there's a lack of communication and oversight in critical areas that impact customers and their lives and livelihoods. So I'd like you to explain that to us, please. Because you are getting paid every year, your remuneration is absolutely outrageous. Yet, through the APRA Prudential report and the Promontory report, and are in your own admissions, you have failed the customers. So how do you get paid such horrendous salaries?
Thank you. Thank you for your question, Ms Mazalevskis. In quoting from what was the APRA Prudential Inquiry Report and the various aspects where board governance had not been what it should have been. Again, that goes back to the review done at the end of 2017. And I can assure you, as you would know from the Promontory report, that we have made substantial improvements in board governance since that time, and in fact have set ourselves a higher bar as we've moved through that program. In terms of you're quoting the 9 of 23 milestones have been met. The way the Promontory assessment process looks at the milestones, there's a design phase, an implement phase, and an embedding phase. And that embedding phase will take a couple of years, and that is where the initiatives taken are observed to make sure that they are still sustainable. So we have taken all of the actions, made all of the improvements, all of the changes that you refer to have been made, and we are now operating at a significantly improved governance level, and that work has been ongoing, even actually before the APRA Prudential Inquiry Report. As you would know, reading that report, the report acknowledged that certain actions had already been taken during 2017. So there's been an extensive program of work, and in terms of compliance with our charters, absolutely. We look at those and make sure that we're compliant with our charters, and we undertake a very detailed board performance review, and every 3 years, and that will be next year, we get an external party to review our performance. But we're very cognizant of the point that you raise in terms of the role of the board in setting the tone from the top, monitoring culture and conduct. And as I referred to in my address, in particular, this non-financial risk area has been greatly improved, and the oversight of that's been greatly improved through management having established a non-financial risk committee, and that's given the board much greater visibility on those risks, and that includes conduct and it includes customer outcomes, and that information now comes through to the board, so that has given us greater visibility.
Thank you. I understand all of that, but what I'm trying to say is the board charters, the board committee charters, your position descriptions are in place the day you are employed with the bank. It's only because of the Financial Royal Commission and also the APRA Prudential Report that CBA is now making all these extensive changes, which we all appreciate. But you weren't doing your job in the first place. You weren't doing what you were supposed to do. So you got rewarded for many years for ignoring your responsibilities, for letting the bank do what it wanted to do, which includes destroying a lot of customers that now fall under the area when you weren't doing what you were obliged to do under your roles. And they have been told that they don't have a leg to stand on against the bank when they actually do. And I'd like to know what you are prepared to do for these customers.
Well, on the customer side, in a moment, I'll ask the CEO to comment. In terms of what the board has been doing, I can only comment from when I've joined the board, and I can assure you that the question of constantly improving governance has been on the board's agenda since that time, and significant improvements have been made. We did not wait for the APRA Prudential Inquiry or the Royal Commission. We were already making significant improvements before both of those events occurred. In terms of customer outcomes, the board does get full reporting on customer outcomes, as you know, and I think it's already been commented on in the meeting. We've greatly improved the way we look at customer complaints and assess them and try and respond to customers. So ensuring that we get the right customer outcomes is very important, but also ensuring that those outcomes are appropriate and equitable across all customers. But Matt, I might get you to comment.
Sure, if I may. Look, the first thing I'd say is certainly the board inquires frequently of management about the status, not just of individual cases, but overall, as you would expect. Secondly, a great deal of work has been done. Part of that has been elevating the complaints function. David Cohen, our Deputy CEO, has a big part of his role. I've personally met with more than 40 of the longest standing and I think most challenging customer cases. I do recognise a number of the people that are here today that I've personally met with in some instances on numerous occasions. We're absolutely committed to making sure, and there's a number of those cases that we've resolved satisfactorily for both parties. It will remain a focus. We are fortunate to serve 8 million customers, and whilst it'll never be okay if something does go wrong, it's absolutely incumbent on management to make sure we respond promptly and fairly and compassionately with our customers.
So in regards to the reporting and the changes to the top, to the board, in relation to aggrieved customers, and there are a lot of long-term ones, including some of my fellow bank warriors, and I'm well across their cases. Do you have reports that come to you on a monthly basis when you hold your board meetings or your risk management meetings that has a portfolio for the non-financial risk in it? Do you have a report that tells you what's outstanding to the bank and your potential liability, which directly impacts shareholders? Because shareholders' value has dropped because of the actions of CBA management, which includes from the top the board.
As I've said, we do, every meeting, we do get reporting on customer complaints and what the particularly sensitive issues are or the systemic issues, and then from management what the actions are that are going to flow from those. But I think we've covered your question.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a last statement. I think you're very lucky last year you held your AGM before the hearings in Sydney for the Royal Commission. So you managed to avoid a first strike like a couple of the other banks. So I think you were very clever that you hold your AGM earlier, because if it had been later, I think you might have been in the same position, and especially now knowing what we know as a result of all these reports, because it's very disappointing.
Great. Well, we'll note your comment. Thank you very much.